Hi, my name is Max Roth, and the topic that I research and what I want to discuss today is domestic terrorism. First, we need to discuss what terrorism actually is. The FBI's definition of terrorism has two characteristics. First, they have to be involved in violent acts or actions that are dangerous to human life, that violate federal or state laws, and they're trying to affect the conduct of a government by a form of intimidation, which could be mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. Most popular past events that came up in my background research was 9/11 and the anthrax mailings. If you haven't been on the moon for the past 10 years, you know everything about 9/11. But I found the anthrax case quite interesting. While in the midst of the chaos in 2001, letters containing anthrax were mailed to several news media offices and 2 Democratic U.S. senators, killing 5 people and infecting 17 others. What even is anthrax? It is an acute disease that can be genetically enhanced and weaponized to kill. Pretty much something that you don't want to encounter. What's even scarier is that the case hasn't been completely solved. The only difference between terrorism and domestic terrorism is that domestic is an attack done by U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. One of the most infamous domestic terrorists that I want to focus on is John Brown. He was a white American abolitionist who believed that insurrection was the only way to overthrow the institution of slavery in the United States. Brown grew up in Ohio in the early 19th century. In Ohio, that was where his father opened up a tannery. After he got married at 20, he fathered 20 children and opened up an unsuccessful competing tannery. After that, he lost thousands of dollars in real estate during the disastrous panic of 1837. After that, he tried many different ventures where he would fail one after another. After he had to sell his farm, he seemed to snap. Perhaps it was the long string of failures that created the revolutionary who burst onto the American scene in 1856. His sons had moved to Kansas where Bloody Kansas was being born. He went down there from Ohio to protect his family. It was in Kansas where the dangerous abolitionist was officially born. One night in May of 1856, John went down to Pottawatomie Creek, where he and 8 men killed 5 men in cold blood. He specifically went to 3 separate pro-slavery cabins where he shot the men. This event will forever be known as the Pottawatomie Creek Massacre. After, Brown had some other run-ins with pro-slavery men. He wanted to really make them pay. On the rainy night of October 16, 1859, Brown led a determined little procession down the road to Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. Harper's Ferry was a federal armory commissioned by the United States. He led 18 men on the attack. Brown planned to seize all of the 100,000 muskets and rifles and distribute them to armed local slaves. He got some prisoners from surrounding farms and started to receive heavy firing from the town. They were forced to move by a little militia that had formed on the train tracks just outside of the town. By morning, most of his men were dead, and he was forced to leave because of the Marines that surrounded the building. One illustration from the Harper's Weekly depicts U.S. Marines attacking the firehouse which John Brown used as a fort during his raid on Harper's Ferry. A more recent example of domestic terrorism that shocked the United States was the bombing on the Boston Marathon. People in Cambridge, Massachusetts thought of 19-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, or Jahar to his friends, as a shy, laid-back guy. Even though he seems to be laid back to his friends, his family and background is quite radical. His family is based out of Chechnya, a former Soviet republic which is predominantly Islamic. The story of Jahar starts when he grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, a suburb of Boston. His family mainly lived in a small 3-bedroom apartment. In the apartment, his friends thought his family seemed normal, but under it, there's a large distress amongst the family. Jahar's mother eventually became unemployed, and by 2009 she tried to get rich quick and failed. His father couldn't work because of his age, and they didn't receive any more aid from the government. As Jahar's brother got quickly sucked into Islam, both their parents were getting divorced. Their parents both moved back to Russia and left Jahar alone in college, depressed and only talking to his brother Tamerlan. As Tamerlan started getting more extreme, Jahar was starting to flunk out of school. They both started getting angry at what was happening around them. Tamerlan then saw America as the cause for so much suffering. They both got pushed and fed up until the one afternoon of April 18th, when 2 pressure cooker bombs exploded, killing 3 people and injuring 264 others. Any type of terrorism is bad, but we need to realize that when anyone is pushed too far, they become extreme and have a choice to use violence. The connection that we have to make from John Brown to Jahar is that these men had a constellation of failures in their lives that caused them pain, but no amount of pain is enough to justify their acts of terrorism.